There is a difference between being alive and actually feeling alive. A lot of people feel out of control of their lives and like they're simply reacting to things that happen to them. They're living on autopilot. I call this existing. But if we're able to take control of our circumstance and live with passion and purpose, we may be able to cross the bridge and get to living. That's what today's episode of Life Fulfilled is all about: existing versus living. So let's break down the different ways people can experience life. A lot of psychologists use the SEL format: surviving, existing, and living. So let's break it down. In the first stage, surviving, you're fighting to meet your most immediate needs: food, water, safety, sleep. You're in survival mode, most likely because of some sort of crisis or trauma or extreme stress. There's no space to think about your future or fulfillment because you're just trying to stay afloat. Now, the next stage, existing, is where a lot of us land. When someone is simply existing, they're just going through the motions. They do what they're supposed to do: wake up, work, sleep, repeat. They aren't in crisis like how people in survival mode are, but they're not thriving either. Life is predictable, but not exciting. In fact, it could be kind of boring and monotonous, and it loses its appeal. The third way people experience life is when they're actually living. This is when your days are positive, you're actively engaged, and you wake up with a sense of excitement. You feel present, you feel connected to the things you are doing throughout the day. You challenge yourself and pursue things that align with your values. Let's use a plant as an example. When it's surviving, it's barely holding on: yellow leaves and brittle stems. It's just trying to make it. But when it's existing, it's not really growing. It's just sort of there. And when this plant is truly living, it's blooming and reaching towards the sun, taking advantage of all of the things that it has and enjoying its little plant world. This is really the same for us. Our roots might be okay, but if we're not actively seeking sunlight, meaningful experiences, deep relationships, personal growth, we're kind of just stuck in that existing phase where nothing really seems to matter. Now that we can differentiate between surviving, existing, and truly living, let's talk about how we can cross into different stages and how we can get to feeling truly alive. Here's where things get interesting. One of the most reliable ways to shift from existing to living is by helping other people. You've probably heard the old saying, helping others helps yourself. Well, science actually backs that up. A large scale meta analysis published in the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology found that acts of kindness create measurable increases in life satisfaction, mood, and even physical health. People feel more engaged and fulfilled when they're doing things that have an impact on other people in a positive way. There's a concept called the hopeful method. Helping others promotes engagement and fulfillment. It suggests that when we contribute to the well being of others, three things happen. One, we connect to others on a deeper level. Second, we disrupt the autopilot cycle. When you help somebody, it requires presence and genuine attention in most cases. That alone could snap you out of your routine. And lastly, we feel valuable and purposeful. Contributing to others reminds us that we matter and we're here and we can genuinely help the people around us. Now, let's talk about another way to cross this bridge. This is breaking your routine. One of the biggest reasons people stay in this existing phase is because of routine. They get stuck on autopilot because they do the same exact things every day. Nothing's new, there's nothing to expect, and life kind of becomes boring. Psychologist Lisa Firestone writes that when we live too comfortably inside our routines, we tend to stop questioning whether what we're doing makes us happy. So the real question is, when was the last time you did something spontaneous? Something uncomfortable? Something new? Trying something new that requires presence could break the feeling of being on autopilot because we have to use our brains and truly engage in what's happening. Now, it doesn't have to be something dramatic like skydiving or quitting your job. Here are some things you could try: getting a new hobby, taking a different route to school or work, starting a conversation with someone new. This is pretty scary to a lot of people, including me, but I would be engaged in that situation, I'll tell you that. Or even breaking your weekend Netflix binge for a local volunteering event. Put yourself in situations where you have to be on your toes and you have to adapt. The concept of neuroplasticity in neuroscience backs up a similar notion. When we try something new, it can actually create new neural pathways in our brain. Creating new neural pathways means we have to be more active since they didn't already exist, and it could be a way for us to become more engaged in the lives we are living. Some things a lot of people don't talk about for when you're stuck in that existing stage in life is not just a lack of connection to the world around you, but a lack of interest and desire to connect with yourself. I believe that this could be a mistake since you're the person you're spending your entire life with. It's better to get to know yourself early and know your patterns and habits so you can use that information to navigate life in a more meaningful way. If you're wondering how to make the shift in your own life, here are a few simple and science backed steps. The first is self reflection. When I hear this, I personally think of journaling, but even sitting with yourself at the end of the day and reflecting on what happened could be an example of this. It's a way for you to get more engaged and be more conscious of what happens in your life. Personally, I've started journaling recently, and it has been so insightful. It not only makes me feel more present in my life since I'm actively writing about it, but it also makes me feel more connected to myself. And I even believe that I understand myself now more than I ever have in the past due to this process of journaling and taking the time to reflect on my days. Okay, another step is to set small, actionable goals each week. For example, talk to somebody new, help someone, or even try something different. Repeating affirmations in this way can help as well. I am alive and I feel like I am living. Saying things like this could get your subconscious mind to believe it, and it could change the course of your life. Even setting an intention could make you more conscious of a different way of living. For example, if you say something like, I will be present today, the entire day that thought should come into your mind and you should look for ways in which you can be more present. In this way, simply setting intentions, saying some affirmations, or setting goals can actively change the way you live and engage with life. And number three, prioritize connections. According to the Harvard Study of Adult Development, one of the longest studies on happiness, the biggest predictor of a fulfilling and happy life is not wealth or success, but strong and supportive relationships. So spend some more time with the people you want to be around and the people you trust, and try and foster these deep, meaningful relationships where you support one another and feel truly engaged in conversation when you speak. It may not be evident, but people to some extent long for these fulfilling relationships. So if you reach out and you're trying to get to know someone a little bit better, there is a high chance they'll reciprocate that same energy back to you. And lastly, as I mentioned before, you can help other people. Even one small act, writing a kind note, volunteering for an hour, or calling a friend to check up on them, can spark genuine happiness and reinforce the feeling that you are living, that you can make an impact, and you are not just passing time. You are here, you matter, and you can actually make the lives of the people around you so much better. How cool is that? But here's one thing I learned, both in my own life and from some research, that I believe is true. You can't move from existing to living, by accident. You have to put in effort. You have to break routine. You have to do things that you normally wouldn't. Get outside of your comfort zone. You have to choose it. And a huge part of that choice is actively trying to change. Human beings, inherently, we don't like change. It makes us uncomfortable. It makes us feel unsafe when we can't predict things. We like to stick to what we know. That's why people may stay in relationships where they aren't treated right. At least they know what's going to happen. At least they are used to it. But think about it. If we are trying to alter the way we experience our reality, we have to change ourselves first. Change doesn't come without change. And by sparking our own internal transformation, maybe our entire world and our entire perspective will shift as well. And another big part of that decision in choosing to live, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's hard, even if it takes a lot of effort, is accepting help from others. People around you want to help, but if you are constantly defensive or you aren't allowing other people inside, there's not much they can do. But real growth really starts when you admit, maybe I can't do this alone. There are people willing to help me, and I think I should use that. I think I should accept that help. A big part of this shift also comes from not just constantly wanting change, but appreciating the life that we've already been given. If we compare our lives to our ancestors in the past, we could see that we're incredibly lucky. I watched this show, Survivor, and just seeing a group of humans living in this forest for around a month and being so excited over things like a shower, a toothbrush, or even a nice burger. It just made me so much more grateful for the things I have. So, guys, even if you're trying to change your mindset, don't take anything for granted. Hey, quick note after I finish recording this video. If you are truly serious about this concept and changing your experience on life, one thing I would recommend is staying away from social media. Consuming content about other people's lives could make you feel more disconnected from your personal experience. It may be better to focus on things you can actually change and the factors that may affect the satisfaction of your life. If you are feeling stuck, I want you to know that you are not alone. But this also means that people have been in a situation like yours, caught in this perpetual cycle of just existing, and they've gotten out of it. People have gotten better. So why not you? Life is far too short to be stuck on autopilot. When you help others, break out of your routines, and consciously look for ways to put yourself in new situations, you begin to feel more engaged and you begin to feel more alive. This week, try and help somebody else and see the impact that you could have. And last thing, try and do something that's outside of your regular routine. This could be as simple as journaling for 10 minutes or going on a walk outside because you usually don't. If you take these little steps and if you start to do them consistently, if you set that intention, if you put yourself in these new situations, even if it's scary, you will start to notice that shift from feeling stuck to feeling fulfilled. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Life Fulfilled. It has been so fun to explore this concept of existing versus living because I think it's a phenomenon that a lot of people experience. If you enjoy this, please make sure to share it to others you think would feel the same, and like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, keep living a life fulfilled.